Okay, so have you ever felt like, you're going through some spiritual thing, but blindfolded?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're diving deep into that today.
Okay.
This source you shared, it really got me thinking, especially how it talks about faith, like when things are tough.
Right.
And it's not some big epic battle, like with a villain in a black cloak.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sneakier. It's more like those everyday struggles.
It is, and it's interesting how relatable it is. Even if you wouldn't say you're like super religious, right?
Yeah.
Because we all experience deception in some way, don't we? Misleading stuff online, that one friend who like twists your words.
Oh, yeah.
Even just those tempting shortcuts that throw us off track.
Hmm.
This source just puts it all in this spiritual context, which I think is helpful.
Totally. It's like they say, the enemy's sneaky, right?
Yeah.
And they talk about this distortion of truth as a big one. That really hit me. Just think about it, like all the false teachings, rumors, or even just twisting facts to fit an agenda.
Oh, yeah.
It's everywhere. It's like we need brain filters these days with all the information overload.
Yeah, absolutely. And the source, it seems to be saying that's where discernment is so important.
Right.
Like really getting good at spotting those distortions, knowing the difference between what's actually true versus just something someone's presenting as true. That's a skill, a muscle we got to keep building.
Totally. It's a workout for sure. And speaking of muscles, I was nodding along to the part about temptation. I mean, good point. It's not about being immune to it because, hey,
Right.
good luck with that, right? It's more about like recognizing the patterns.
Awareness, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you know how when a magician does a trick and you know how it's done?
Yeah.
It's not as impressive anymore.
Totally.
It's not about being powerless to it, but understanding how it works.
Oh, I like that.
Same with temptation. You see the pattern, the pull isn't as strong.
Ooh, that's a good analogy. Okay, this next tactic, I think we all struggle with this, even if we don't always admit it.
Yeah.
Guilt and unworthiness.
Yeah, that's universal. Everyone feels that.
Yeah.
We make mistakes, we have regrets, totally normal. This source reminds us, though, we don't have to be defined by those moments.
Yeah.
It's about feeling those feelings, but not letting them, like, stop us in our tracks, finding the strength to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
And then keep moving forward.
That's so important. Sometimes just knowing other people struggle with that too.
Right.
It helps. Okay, last sneaky tactic they call out. Distractions and division. Oh, man.
Oh, tell me about it.
Does that ever resonate in today's world or what?
Right.
It's like everyone's got an agenda these days.
It's true.
And it's easy to get caught up in it all.
It's about being intentional with where you put your focus, what truly deserves our energy, our attention, and what's just noise, trying to throw us off balance. I think what this source is saying is, in a world that's constantly vying for our attention, figuring out what to ignore is just as important as what you choose to focus on.
So true. It's like protecting your own peace of mind. They've laid out the battlefield, haven't they? We see how the enemy moves.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, how do we fight back? What do we even have in our arsenal?
That's where it gets really interesting, and this source offers a very fascinating framework for this. Even if you don't, subscribe to the whole belief system behind it, it's all about armor. It's all about armor. This source dives right into this idea of spiritual armor.
Okay.
Specifically, they're talking about the armor of God from Ephesians 6.0:18.
Okay.
But stick with me, even if you're not a super religious person.
Yeah.
Because this metaphor, super practical.
Okay, I love it when they go there. So for those of us who haven't exactly spent our Sundays, analyzing ancient armor metaphors.
Right.
What are we even talking about here? Break it down for us. What's this armor of God all about?
So picture it like this. It's about building this resilience.
Okay.
Spiritual resilience. Each piece of this armor, it represents something different.
Okay.
A quality, a practice that helps us, stand strong against those challenges life throws at us. So even if you're not into the religious stuff, the idea of being equipped for life's battles.
Yeah.
Everyone gets that.
Totally. So we're not talking about literally wearing armor.
Right.
It's about those metaphorical tools that we can use.
Exactly.
I like that. So what kind of armor pieces are we talking about here?
Well, they start with this, the belt of truth.
Okay.
And that ties right back into what we were saying earlier.
About being able to spot the BS.
Yes.
Finding the truth.
It's about grounding ourselves in truth.
Okay.
Whatever that means for you. Maybe it's about thinking critically, finding those trustworthy sources of information, or even just being real with ourselves about our own biases.
So basically we're working on that
Yeah.
like internal BS detector.
Exactly.
Got it. That's important. What's next? What else we got on this armor rack? What's the next piece?
Okay, next up is the breastplate of righteousness.
Ooh, okay.
Now, I know righteousness, it sounds kind of heavy, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But at its core, it's about living in line with what we value.
So like those big important values that should guide us when we make choices.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
even when it's hard, it's about doing what you know is right, even when nobody's looking.
Mm-hmm.
Making decisions from a place of integrity, even when it's easier to, like, cut corners.
Okay, I'm digging this metaphor. It's like each piece is something we can actually like work on
Right.
to make ourselves stronger, more resilient. What's next? What's the next level up on this armor?
The shield of faith.
Okay.
Now, this one's personal. It doesn't have to be religious faith.
Right.
It's about having something that protects you when things go sideways.
So like that belief in something you can count on,
Yeah.
whether it's your own strength,
Yes.
a higher power, or even just knowing that like things will eventually get better.
Exactly. Having something you can fall back on
Right.
that gives you that hope to weather the storm.
You know, it's like you see people going through tough times,
Yeah.
and what gets them through a lot of times is that belief
It's true.
that knowing things will get better. It's powerful stuff.
It is.
Okay, so we've got our truth-seeking belt, our integrity breastplate, our resilience shield. What else do we need to complete this like spiritual armor set?
All right, so this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Because now we're moving to more like offensive tools,
Okay.
not just defense.
Okay, got it.
This is about the sword of the Spirit,
Okay.
which they connect to the Word of God.
So if we're thinking beyond just the religious aspect,
Right.
is this about like arming ourselves with knowledge?
Yes.
Or maybe, using our words to speak up for what we believe in, setting boundaries with those negative Nellies.
Absolutely. It's about finding what makes you strong.
Mm-hmm.
What gives you that clarity to stand up for yourself for what you believe in.
So our truth-seeking belt, our integrity breastplate, hope shield, now our sword of knowledge and using our voice. Anything else, or are we ready to go like slay some metaphorical dragons?
One more piece. It's important to have your feet fitted with the readiness of the gospel of peace.
Whoa, okay, so it's not enough to just have this armor.
Right.
You got to be ready to like use it.
You got to be ready to move,
Yeah.
take action. It's about intention, even when it's scary, even when you don't know what's going to happen.
Okay, so we are suited up, we're ready for action.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we actually use this armor in like everyday life?
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to talk about having a shield,
Right.
but how does that help me with like this pile of emails?
And that is where the really practical advice comes in. This source, it really stresses that idea of staying connected to like something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
Whatever that looks like for you. Could be, a higher power if that's your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe just like a strong sense of purpose, something that guides you.
So it's about making that connection stronger
Yes.
on purpose, like through
Yeah.
meditation or spending time in nature even.
Exactly. All those things. It's about showing up for yourself in a way that like aligns with your values.
I love that.
Yeah.
What else stood out to you from this part?
Well, they also talk about equipping ourselves for those tough times.
Okay.
And I like how they put it. It's not just knowing stuff in general. It's about like actively looking for that information.
Right.
Those resources that'll help you with the specific struggles you're dealing with.
So not just keep going, but
Right.
here's a map and some good shoes.
Exactly. Pack the right gear. We can't always avoid the tough stuff, but we can be ready for it.
Love that. So what kind of like maps and boots are we talking about here?
Well, they really emphasize being picky about what you let into your head.
Okay.
What are you reading, watching, even just what conversations are you a part of?
Yeah.
Because all that stuff, it seeps in.
It does.
Shapes your thoughts, your feelings, your actions.
That's where the whole mindfulness thing comes in, doesn't it?
100%.
It's not just about like sitting on a cushion meditating.
Right.
It's about being present, noticing how we're spending our energy all day long.
Yes. Being aware so you can choose what you take in, how you deal with everything around you, choosing your battles and your information carefully,
Yeah.
that's a big part of this whole armor idea.
I've been trying to be better about that, especially with the news.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to get stuck in that negativity spiral.
It is.
Exhausting.
Yeah.
It's like this source is saying, put down the doom scrolling phone, pick up a book that inspires you.
And find your people.
Yes.
The ones who get it, the ones who support you.
Accountability buddies.
Yes.
So important, makes such a difference. We're not supposed to do life alone.
We're not.
Having people in your corner to offer guidance, tell you you're doing great,
Right.
to even give you a little tough love when you need it, that's invaluable.
It's funny, even though this source comes from a religious perspective, they talk about prayer in a way that really resonated with me.
Oh, interesting. Tell me about that. How do they frame it?
It's like this practice of connecting with something bigger than yourself. It could be meditation, spending time outside,
Right.
even just taking a few minutes to be quiet, reflect. It's about creating that space.
That intentional space.
Yes. To listen to your own inner wisdom, get clear on things, set some intentions.
It's like hitting the pause button on life for a minute. So easy to get caught up in everything.
Right.
That quiet time to just be with yourself, I think it's crucial.
And at the end of the day, this source reminds us it's not enough to just know this stuff. We have to actually do it.
Right. Action.
Take action. Even if you're scared, even if you don't have all the answers.
I love that. It's like we have all the tools. Now it's on us to use them.
It is. You get to choose what your armor looks like, what works for you, how you show up in the world.
I love that. That's so empowering.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. Like, we've got the blueprints to build our own spiritual armor.
You do.
And if we need to swap out the heavy breastplate for a lighter shield some days, that's okay.
Absolutely.
The important thing is to keep learning, keep growing, keep moving forward. This was fantastic. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. We'll see you next time for another exploration into all these fascinating ideas.